we have these stories that we tell ourselves, right? And they just play over and over and over again in our head. And they keep us from doing so many things. The thing that we don't learn in school, the thing that we should learn in school, is that you're perfect just the way that you are. It doesn't matter whether you're extroverted. It doesn't matter whether you are good at public speaking. It doesn't matter whether you like to participate. It doesn't matter how many friends that you have. You're perfect just the way that you are. You were made this way with this personality for a really special reason. You were made this way on purpose. Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you. Hi there, Sarah Kuhn here. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Ones. So, the past couple of weeks have been incredibly challenging for me. It seemed like everything that could go wrong did, and with so much coming at me, I just ended up in this terrible feeling of burnout. And usually when I hit burnout stage, I feel just like overwhelmed and like I just need to rest. But for some reason this time, I've had terrible anger associated with it. And I don't really know why that is, but it's been really difficult for me to navigate because anger isn't usually something that I allow myself to feel. Lots of childhood trauma to unpack there, but it's difficult to navigate because I don't really have a lot of tools to work with anger for myself. So it's been challenging to work through all of that and to figure out how to get back to feeling good. And, I think the worst part about burnout for me is the feeling lost and hopeless. I need a project. I need something to work on all of the time. I guess I'm kind of a workaholic, but having projects is something that keeps me motivated, keeps me going, keeps me, I love being driven and looking for accomplishments. And when I don't have that, when I don't know what to do, and when I just feel lost, that's the worst feeling for me. I was listening to one of Kathy Heller's podcasts not too long ago, and she was talking to a guy named Gay Hendricks who coaches people. I think he does lifestyle and business coaching. And he says that one of the most powerful exercises that he does is he gives people 10 minutes in a room by themselves and asks them, what would make you really happy? What do you really, really, really want to do? What do you really, really love? So I've been trying to go over that in my head just over and over and over again. And it's funny how the more that you think about what you really want, the less that you know what you really want. It's crazy. Because for me, I have this whole list of things. It's no, this is really, really, really what I want. But I'm really good at setting goals that are incredibly impossible. So when it comes to what I really, really want, a lot of them are very difficult. They're very far away. There aren't simple little things that can make me feel like I've accomplished something. So I'm trying to be gentle with myself through this process, and I'm trying to keep up with everything that's going on. There's a lot, for sure. And I'm also trying to give myself some little goals that I can accomplish. Yesterday, I went to IKEA and bought a bookshelf because my kitchen has kind of been a mess, and I needed an extra shelf to store stuff on. So I thought, okay, that's a little goal that I can accomplish, and it doesn't necessarily have to pertain to what I wanted it to pertain to, but just having something that's small that I can do and feel some kind of accomplishment, it was really good. And it's nice that there's a lot more organization in my life now. It feels a little bit better because I hate when my kitchen is messy, and when my bedroom and my whole house is messy. It makes me feel overwhelmed. So just having that simple task of doing something like that made me feel a lot more accomplished and a lot better. It's so easy for us to feel like we have to accomplish all of the things that we want to accomplish, all of the big things, the big goals that we set out for ourselves in order to feel like we've done something. But I just wanted to remind you that there are a lot of ways to feel like you've accomplished something. And it doesn't have to be figuring out your whole life story right now. It doesn't have to be figuring out your purpose and your goals right now. It could just be that you need a new bookshelf, or that your bathroom needs to be a little bit more organized, or maybe you can clean out your closet. Something simple like that can go a long way. So today on the podcast, I'm sharing with you, I guess a talk you would say that I did that's called Being an Introvert in an Extroverted World. It's so amazing when you start looking at how much extroverted people influence our daily lives. It's not something that I've looked at a lot, but once I started looking at it, then I realized there's a lot of ways that extroverts influence us, and a lot of ways that they tell us that we're wrong. And it's important to recognize that when it comes up, so that you know you're not wrong for being the way that you are. You were made this way for a reason, and you're perfect just the way that you are. So let's take a listen. I have another question that I want to answer for you. Somebody sent this to me yesterday. It says, do you think the world caters better to extroverts? And when I was thinking about this, my answer is there's so many different ways to say yes, honestly. it's, it's a lot of yes. So let's talk about just a few ways that the world caters better to extroverts. You think back to school, to grade school. There were a lot of classes, and this applies to college too, because I spent 10 years in college and it's kind of the same. It's even actually worse in college. But in grade school and college, you have classes where you get participation grades, right? So you don't get a good grade unless you participate. And it doesn't matter whether you do the work really well. If you don't participate enough, then you don't get a good grade. Group projects, horrifying. I can't tell you how bad group projects are. I have gotten stuck in so many of them where I either do all of the work and, obviously you get a good grade because you do all of the work, but you're stuck doing all the work for everybody else. Or I've been in them where I've been excluded from doing anything. So my grade depended on what everybody else did. And I even went to the professor, because this was in one of my college classes, and I said, this is ridiculous. I should not be, like, my whole class grade depends on this group project, and they won't let me do anything. And he's like, well, you just need to deal with it, because that could come up for you in a job at some point, and you need to know how to deal with it. And I'm like, that's total BS. Like, no company would ever hire me and then not let me do anything. And at the time, it made perfect sense. But now that I've been through a few jobs, I understand that he actually had a point. Also in school, they make you do public speaking type of things. In college, at least in the United States, they require you to take a public speaking class in order to graduate from college. I took that class and it was like torture, but I also felt a little bit better because the majority of the people in the class hated public speaking too. So we all just kind of suffered together, and there's like a bonding that happens when you suffer together. The world also caters to extroverted people through work, again with the group projects. Lots and lots of group projects. Depending on the company that you work for, some of them are more so than others. The last year and a half, we've all had a whole nother education on Zoom calls. Those are, I mean, there's a whole culture around Zoom calls that's just terrifying. Staff meetings can also be terrifying, you know, when there's 50 or 100 people that work for the company that you work for, and they're like calling on people saying, okay, you have to stand up in front of everybody and tell us about this project that you're working on. And you're like, why though? Like, this could be an email. You know, does everybody really care about what's going on with my job, which is marketing? Does it matter to anybody else? Not really, but that's just how they run the company. They're totally fine getting up and speaking in front of a bunch of people, so they think that everybody else should be too, right? I've noticed this as well on like hiring, like on job applications or job boards. The last few times I was applying for a job, there are some jobs, and I work in marketing, so it's probably a little bit different for people who work in marketing. But I do digital marketing, so it's not like I'm face to face with people all the time. But on a lot of the job notices, they say we only want to hire happy, bubbly, extroverted people. If you're not good with people, don't apply. And to me, that's like, really? Not everybody is extroverted. Not everybody is happy and bubbly. I mean, you can be good with people and not be extroverted, right? But it's not just like work and school where extroverted people sort of make the rules for everybody. It's also social expectations. So when you have a job or like when you go to school, a lot of people, they're, you know, people who are big on small talk or good at small talk, they usually start conversations with, so what are you doing this weekend? Or what did you do last weekend? And if you say nothing, they're like, oh, that's so boring. Like, you don't have a life? And for me, I mean, my general response to everything is nothing. But I love to do nothing on the weekends. I plan to do nothing. I do so much during the week that I don't want to do anything on the weekends. And Saturday is like my day to just chill and like not move off of the couch. And Sunday is my day to like run errands and do something special for myself. If I want to go shopping or go to the beach, or go get food from my favorite restaurant, then I'll plan to do that on Sunday. So when I say I'm not doing anything, that means that I have my own little plans, but I'm not going to tell people at work that I spent all of Saturday binge watching a new TV show on Hulu. You know, I'm not going to do that. I might tell them like, hey, I found this new TV show that's called Murders Only in the Building or something like that. That's like about a podcast about a
people who were in a building in New York who are making a podcast about a murder that happened. I mean, how cool is that? But I'm not going to tell people like, hey, this is my plan for the weekend. So I've just gotten really good at just like saying, no, I didn't have any plans this weekend, or I cleaned the house, or I washed my car, something super boring. So then people just stop asking me that question because I hate that question.
All right, I love this talk, but let's take a short break for a minute. I got a direct message the other day, one that was very familiar to me because I get it from a lot of people. But this particular one says, I love your content and I wish that there was more of it. I'm so inspired by you and I love how relatable you are. How do I get more? This is from Susan, who lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, Susan, I have some good news for you. I'm starting an insiders group for you and for anyone listening who wants more content. It's called the INFJ Woman Insiders. With this group, you'll learn more about your INFJ personality and step into your highest and best self. You'll get at least 2 videos every single week from me, full of inspiration, guidance, and support. You'll also get 2 live videos a month where I show up to answer your questions and give you support and coaching. I'm also including exclusive access to behind the scenes of what's going on in my business and my life each and every week. If you want me there with you like a cheerleader and a coach, you'll want to become an insider. The INFJ Woman Insiders group is only $9.99 per month, and it's month to month, so you can cancel anytime. I'm here to support you in rising to your highest and best self. Are you ready? Let's go! Go to infjwoman.com/insider to sign up today. And if you sign up by the end of this week, I'm going to include access to my workshop called How to Go From Overthinking to Doing, absolutely free. Go to infjwoman.com/insider to sign up now.
There are other social expectations though when you make new friends. I mean, most of my friends are on the internet, but they don't live anywhere close to me, which is sad. But when you make friends with people who live in the same place that you do, they want to like go out. And their version of going out could be going to a restaurant, or it could be like going to a club. And they just like don't understand that that's not your jam. That's not what you do at all. Dating is the same way. I've had so many people, like had this discussion with so many people because I'm 35, about to be 36. I'm still single, unfortunately. And so dating is like torture. And nowadays it's all about apps, which I feel like are so superficial. I mean, how can you judge whether you want to go out with a person just solely based on what they look like, right? And then you have to like go out with them and do all the small talk stuff, tell them the story of your life. And it's like, and then you have to do that over and over and over again until you find somebody that you can actually stand and that can stand you. And it's like, ugh, this is torture. Like, there has to be a better way to do this. But, the other option that people seem to have is like, oh, you should just go to a bar. And I'm like, why would I go to a bar? I never go to a bar in my own time. So why would I want to pick up a guy who's at a bar? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So if you guys have any tips for dating that doesn't involve either one of those things, please send me a direct message. I would love to hear it. But if you're like just some creepy guy on the internet who has like 0 followers and is just looking for, to say like, hey, beautiful, please don't send me a message. I get enough of those and I'm not really interested in that. One more example of social expectations is buying a car. The last time I went to buy a car was like torture. I mean, so in the United States, buying a car is a ripoff. Everybody knows it's a ripoff, and you just have to participate in it, right? Because it seems like buying a car is the only thing that's left where you have to negotiate the price, or it's expected that you negotiate the price. I don't want to negotiate the price. Just tell me what the price is and I'll pay it. I don't care if it's $10,000 more than what it's supposed to be. Just tell me what it is. And if I'm okay with that, I'll pay it. So I went and found the car that I wanted on the internet, and I looked forever because I am, I wanted a specific type of car. I wanted a specific color, and I wanted like a specific trim on it. So, in that type of car it's kind of on the lower end of cars, but that trim was a little bit more expensive, and they're very popular. So, and I didn't want one that was brand new, right? So I wanted one that was used, but not like too used. So I was very particular and I looked for several weeks and I'm like, okay, I live around Boston, so I need to find one that's within Ubering distance from where I live, and that is like the best price that I can get. So I finally found one that was a little bit farther than I wanted to go, but I get there and I walked in and I'm like, can somebody sell me this car? I want this car. And they're like, oh yeah, we have salespeople. And so they give me the sales guy who's like super, super chatty, chatty, chatty. And I'm like, I don't really need all the small talky things. I already know that I want this car. It's totally fine. Like, can you just put the paperwork together for this car? And he's like, well, let's take it for a test drive. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So we did that and we come back and he's like, so let's sit down and talk. And I'm like, no, I want this car. Can you just draw up the paperwork? And he's like, you don't want to talk about it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I want this car. How many times do I have to say this? And I ended up spending like 3 hours almost yelling at him, like, I want this car. Like, how difficult is it for you to understand that I want this car? And then for some reason, he couldn't get everything together that night, so I had to come back the next day. And he's like, okay, so we have your car together. Like, let's go look at it and make sure that it's everything that you want. And I'm like, what? Do you have the keys? Like, I don't want to sit here and talk to you. I want to go. And he's like, well, the keys are at my desk. So we go back to his desk and we come out to the car and he's like, I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. And he's like, no, 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 you have to come talk to the sales manager. And I'm like, why? I mean, it was just, the whole thing was super drawn out and there was so much talking. It was just ridiculous. I'm like, it shouldn't be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. I think next time I buy a car, I will buy it from one of those like vending machines. I think they have one around Boston, so I'm just gonna be like, you know what? This is the car I want. I'll pay for it online and you can deliver it to my house, and I'm good with that. So the world is basically made for extroverts, the majority of it, right? So here's why that's a really bad thing. This is what happens. We have these stories that we tell ourselves, things that run in our head constantly. We end up believing that we're wrong or we're broken because we've been told these things from a young age, right? We've been told you need to participate, you need to have a bunch of friends, you need to speak up more. I was told that in class a lot. You need to participate more. You need to be better at reading out loud, all of these things, right? And so we have this story that runs in our head over and over again. And it could be something like, I'm not enough. I'm not enough because I'm not bubbly and friendly. I'm not enough because I don't have a bunch of friends like everybody else does. I'm not enough because I'm not good at talking to people because I don't like to talk to people. I'm not enough because I'm not what everyone thinks that I should be. And I'm not enough because I need to change. Everyone's telling me that I need to change, right? And as a result, we have low self-confidence. We can't just go do the things that we want to do because we believe that we're not enough. We have low self-love. It may be, you might be a lot like me, where when I was growing up, I believed that some people didn't have self-love. I believed that some people did and some people didn't. And I was just one of the people who didn't have self-love. And I wasn't really sure how to get self-love. I had this conversation with my mom so many times. especially once I got to be like in high school and college, when it came to dating, when it came to applying for jobs, anything that required you to put yourself out there. Um, she would say, "Your problem is that you don't have enough confidence." And I would say, "Yes, that is exactly my problem. How do I fix it?" And she would say, like, "I don't know how to fix it. I've never had that problem, and so I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Great. Well, how does that help me then? I mean, I know what the problem is, but I don't know how to fix it." And so as a result, like, I didn't want to go out on dates because I didn't believe that I even deserved to go out with nice looking guys. Um, I was miserable. There were times when I've just hated myself because there was something that I wanted to do, some way that, there was a job that I wanted to apply for, there was a guy that I wanted to go out with, there was some big change that I wanted to make in my life, and I didn't think that I could because I just didn't have enough confidence. Um, so we have these things that are like, okay, I want to put myself out there, but I can't because I don't believe that I'm capable of those things. And it could be something like as simple as starting a blog. I wanted to start a blog. I started 6 or 8 before I started my blog now that's called INFJ Woman. And what would happen is every single time I would write a blog post, I would like pour my heart out to this blog post. And I would hit publish after a lot of like back and forth and fighting. And then I would sit there and look at it and be like, "Oh, I shouldn't do this. I'm not a good writer. What am I doing here? This isn't gonna work. What if people hate me? What if they say really nasty things about me? What if I'm on Instagram Live and there's somebody who's saying all kinds of horrifying, terrible things about me? Wouldn't that be awful? I don't know how to deal with that. I'm not going to do that." And then I would like unpublish it and be like, "Nope, not going to be a writer. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to do that. I can't stand up to people like that. I don't want to be around people who are bullying me. I don't have enough to be able to tell those people to go away." And so I wouldn't. I would take the blog post down and be like, "Nope, it's fine. I'll just live my miserable little life. I don't know how to change. I'm just going to have to be miserable." That happened to me so many times for so long. And even though I knew that I needed to make a change, and I didn't, I mean, I knew I needed to make a change. I didn't know what change to make, though. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know, and I didn't want to tell people. Like, I didn't want to go to my friends and be like, "Hey, I don't have any confidence. Do you know how to get confidence? Do you know where to go and get it?" Because I didn't want people to know, right? I don't want people to know I don't have enough confidence. That's weird. That would be just one more thing that would make me different from everybody else. So we have these stories that we tell ourselves, right? And they just play over and over and over again in our head. And they keep us from doing so many things, whether it's dating, whether it's finding a job that you want, whether it's putting yourself out there in so many different ways. If you want to start a blog or a YouTube channel, if you want to write a book, if you have art that you want to do, maybe you want to make cupcakes. There's this company in LA that they have a cupcake vending machine. I seen a picture of it. Somebody posted it on one of their stories, and I was like, "Damn, that is the coolest thing. Why don't we have one of those in Boston?" It's probably a good thing that we don't have one. I would go there like every day. The thing that we don't learn in school, the thing that we should learn in school, is that you're perfect just the way that you are. It doesn't matter whether you're extroverted. It doesn't matter whether you are good at public speaking. It doesn't matter whether you like to participate. It doesn't matter how many friends that you have. You're perfect just the way that you are. You were made this way with this personality for a really special reason. You were made this way on purpose. And making a big change in your life, it's not as easy or as simple as just changing the story in your head, right? You can't just go from a negative self-belief to a positive self-belief. Your ego, which is that voice in your head that has all the I statements like I'm not enough, I'm not pretty, I'm not smart, or maybe it says I am pretty, I am smart. Your ego won't allow it because it's this belief that you've had that you've been telling yourself since before you can even remember. That belief was solidified in your head probably before you were 7 or 8 years old. And how many of you actually remember when you were like 7 or 8 years old? I don't have very many memories from back then. And it seems like the older that I get, the less memories that I have from back then. I actually went to a counselor for a while. And so I presented this problem to her too, and she said, fake it till you make it. That's how you change. And I was like, really? I paid you like $200 for this advice? Fake it till you make it? That's it? That's all you have? I knew that didn't work because I had tried it so many times, and it's like, you can't just go from I'm not enough to okay, I'm enough. Like, that doesn't work. There's work that you have to do inside of you. There's an internal self-healing journey that you have to go through in order to be able to change those beliefs. It is possible to change those beliefs. I'm a living example of it because, like I said, I started a ton of different blogs, and then I finally figured out how to start one and be able to sustain it, right? A lot of people tell me you're not an INFJ because you do live videos. You're not an INFJ because you do live workshops. But that's not true. Just because I do live videos and live workshops, because I spend a lot of time on Zoom, that doesn't mean that I'm not introverted. It doesn't mean that it's easy for me to do these things. Just because I have a podcast, it's not easy. It's difficult. It's challenging, but I like the challenge. I want to keep growing and keep making myself better, and I hope that you guys do too. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this work, because I know that there's a lot of people who are exactly where I was 5 or 6 years ago who want to make a change. And it's possible to make a change. And I know the way, and I want to help you to be able to make that change as well. There's a step-by-step process that you need to go through in order to make these changes and to be able to sustain that change, to change the beliefs, to say, I can have self-confidence. And it's not fake it till you make it, believe me. You just have to get past your ego, and there are some creative ways that you can do that are really, they're kind of so easy that it's like, you have that. I don't know if you did, but my parents were always telling me, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? And so some of the things that I've done that have changed some of my beliefs have been those things that, like, this sounds too good to be true. And I'll tell you, one of them that has been one of the biggest helps for me is meditation. Just spending 5 or 10 minutes every single day meditating has been crazy. I mean, it's changed so much in such a short amount of time. In less than a month, it changed a lot. I don't just like sit there and think about nothing or anything, because that's what I thought meditation was, and it's not. I use Gabby Bernstein's guided meditations, and they help so much. She has one on positive affirmations. There's one on gratitudes that I do a lot that helps. Both of those things are amazing. I mean, you will see such a huge change within just a couple of weeks. There are other things that you can do as well, and there's a lot of information. For me, it's kind of like when I learned my personality type, it was like I felt lost and confused and misunderstood. And then I learned my personality type, and it was like, oh my God, all of this understanding, like this huge wave of new knowledge and understanding. And it's like, yes, I finally feel understood. I finally know what so many of my problems are. I can finally make progress and move forward. When I started learning about self-love, it was the same feeling. It's like, I know what the problem is now. I know how to fix the problem now. And it makes so much of a difference.
It makes such a huge difference when you decide that you're worth it, when you decide that you deserve to spend as much time on yourself as you do on everybody else. It's such a big shift too, because we as INFJs are so used to taking care of everybody else and we're so good at it. But we also need to remember that it's so important to take care of ourselves. And just like I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, one of the dangers that you can get into when you don't take care of yourself is burnout. And it's something that I'm learning about and trying to get better with. In the past, I've spent 6 or 8 months in burnout, and thankfully this time around, because I'm taking so much better care of myself now, my burnout only lasted a week, and that feels like a huge improvement for me. So I really encourage you to take some time for yourself, to figure out what it is that you need, and explore things like meditation, things that can help you in amazing ways that you never would have even considered before. All right, so that's all we have for today, and I hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please leave me a review wherever you listen to my podcast, and make sure that you subscribe. When you leave a review, it helps other people to find us, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again next week. So you just watched that video, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.